earnest Medicaid coverage. What this does is it makes this battle that you're fighting right now, it brings it up every single year. It gives an unrelated item the ability to take down the entire process. So by amending it to connect what we're doing in the insurance code to Medicaid, it gives an incentive for those who don't like this to fight to get it out of the budget for Medicaid. 40% of the kids in Michigan are on Medicaid. And if we cover them this way, we know that we have a matching opportunity to take some pressure off the general fund. Otherwise, we take the more expensive route. Make no mistake, when we agree to take on Medicaid, we have to provide coverage that is medically necessary. Just on Friday, federal court found a case in the state of Florida that behavioral therapy is medically necessary. The state of Michigan today is under a class action lawsuit for not providing Medicaid coverage to kids with autism because those services are medically necessary. And so all this does is take something that we can get settled today and turn it into an annual battle. Then, of course, the sunset, the last proposal, would be a major disincentive for any investment in a service delivery network, or at least any substantial investment. I think the inclusion of a sunset would basically result in a very modest change in the status quo in Michigan, where those who already provide the service will find ways to do just a little bit more. And so, Mr. Chairman, I would urge you to consider the substitutes that are before you as they are, and not to adopt amendments that would weaken the intent of the proposal that is before you, because at this point, it is critically important that we solve the problem, as opposed to find a political solution that can move organizations to less vigorous opposition.
Lieutenant Governor Kelly, I appreciate your testimony, your heart and your availability to not only the members of this committee, this legislature, and I know from firsthand experience your availability that you have been in this issue to the people of the state of Michigan, and I believe that's very applaudable because of your commitment too. I want to thank you for being here. Representative O'Brien, you want to address the Lieutenant Governor?
Yes, I have two questions. One I think is simple, and one I don't know if it's simple. The first is, there's been a lot of questions in my community about special education services. It's my understanding that since we have to provide free public education to all students, that special ed services are mandated because of our Constitution and have been affirmed through the courts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The second question I have is that there have been some also in my community who have had concerns with the effectiveness of the school services that are currently provided. And do you feel that we need to look at the educational services as well at some point and possibly change how they're delivered in schools, or do you believe that's a totally separate issue?
I believe that that is a step in the process in terms of making sure that kids have every opportunity to be successful and independent in their lives. And so when it comes to what schools do today, for the most part, school is faced with trying to educate a child who is not in a position to be educated because they lack the basic social language skills and behavioral skills in order to be able to receive any sort of instruction. So today we put special education services into an impossible scenario. What we do with this, and working complementary to the education system, is that you give kids the tools to be in a position to receive instruction in the first place. There will be no advancement in education of kids with autism without the behavioral therapy being available in the first place.
Chair, if I could do just one quick follow-up.
Quick.
Thank you. From your testimony and from what I have heard others say, including my superintendent, they can't provide these services because they're considered health care and not education directly, and so they can't provide the identical service in the school system, correct?
That's correct. And so a school is not a healthcare provider. I think that's what gets mixed up oftentimes in this process, is people look at autism therapy as being somehow educational. And it is a clinical therapy, and it's necessary for education to happen, but they're not the same thing. So it will, and the schools, I think, in the most immediate future are the ones who stand to save the most because of this, and that will result in a lot of kids today that need one-on-one supervision, which is quite common, to eventually be mainstreamed and join their peers.
Thank you very much, Governor, for being with us again.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask that a motion be made to adopt H3 sub to Senate Bill 414. Representative Slavin, so moves. Madam Clerk, will you take the roll?
Chairman Kurtz?
Yes.
Representatives O'Brien?
Yes.
Haynes?
Yes.
Heisey?
Yes.
Hooker?
Yes.
Rendon?
Yes.
Slavin?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 passes. H3 sub to 414 is adopted.
There is an amendment to I'm sorry. Substitute, okay. There is an amendment to the bill offered by Representative Slavins. Representative, would you like to speak to this amendment, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. And thank you to the audience. I'm offering this substitute to enhance this very important and passionate legislation. All children should have access to insurance coverage. The testimony we've listened to in committee, as well as letters and phone calls and conversations I've had with families throughout the state, compels me to offer this substitute. The other day we heard about a mother who took her college tuition to pay for one of her 2 children with autism, just so she could learn how to train her children. The mother who missed so many days of work because she was afraid for her child's life. Her child was cutting herself. The family who lost their car, their home, all of their assets to pay for their child's treatment. Study after study shows early treatment, appropriate treatment for children with autism and other brain disorders results in a higher quality of life, employability, and less costly interventions later in life. Isn't that what we want for all of the children in this state? My amendment adds a substitute on 7, which would add mental health parity. And after the first year, if there is a 2% increase, the insurance companies can opt out. And then thereafter, if there was a 1% increase, the insurance companies could opt out. I believe all children in the state of Michigan deserve appropriate treatment. And I'd appreciate your support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Slavins. For this amendment, Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Chairman Kurtz?
No.
Representatives O'Brien?
No.
Haynes? Heisey?
No.
Hooker?
Pass.
Rendon?
No.
Slavin? Yes. Lane?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there are 3 yeas, 4 nays, and 2 passes. The H4 substitute to 414 is not adopted.
I'm going to ask for a motion to report Senate Bill 414. Representative O'Brien so moves. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Chairman Kurtz?
Yes.
Representatives O'Brien?
Yes.
Haynes?
Yes.
Heisey?
Yes.
Hooker?
Yes.
Rendon?
Yes.
Slavin?
Pass.
Lane?
Yes.
Stapleton?
Pass.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 yeas, 0 nays, and 2 passes. Senate Bill 414 is referred out as substitute H3.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would now ask for a motion to adopt the H3 sub to Senate Bill 415. Representative Haynes so moves. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Chairman Kurtz,
Yes.
Representatives O'Brien,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Heisey,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Rendon,
Yes.
Slavin, Lane,
Yes.
Stapleton.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there are 9 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 passes. The H3 sub to 415 is adopted.
There is an amendment to the bill offered by Representative Slavens. Again, Representative, would you wish to speak to the amendment? I'm sorry, Stapleton? Started with an S.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Similarly, without going through repeating of my colleagues, there is yet another substitute that would allow mental health parity, understanding the issues that are facing so many of our communities and so many of our families and people. There are caps in this amendment that would allow the insurance companies out if indeed increased costs go over 2 or 1% in particular cases. I would hope that as we move forward, and you will note for the audience and those of you who are not here on a regular basis, this is lots of procedural stuff going on. We need to continue to move this ball forward. Whether autism, whether it should or shouldn't, isn't even an issue anymore. We know that there are groups of families that are hurting in this state and children that are not getting what they need. And so it really is a matter for me with this amendment and the things that I do during this process about moving the ball forward so that we can capture as many young people, many teenagers, many others who are faced with not getting what they need. And so, Mr. Chair, I would hope that by amending or substituting with a Section 8 that addresses the things that I just spoke of, that we would agree to this substitute.
Thank you, Representative Stapleton. Therefore, I'm going to ask Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Chairman Kurtz,
No.
Representatives O'Brien,
No.
Haynes,
Pass.
Heisey,
No.
Hooker,
Pass.
Rendon,
No.
Slavin, Lane,
Yes.
Stapleton.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there are 3 yeas, 4 nays, and 2 passes. The H4 sub to 415 is not adopted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would ask now for a motion to report Senate Bill 415. Representative Haynes so moves. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Chairman Kurtz,
Yes.
Representatives O'Brien,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Heisey,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Rendon,
Yes.
Slavin, Lane,
Yes.
Stapleton.
Pass with a comment, if I could, Mr. Chair.
No.
Can I, if I could?
Please allow me to move on, Representative Stapleton.
Mr. Chair, I would like to at least allow folks to understand that we have people here who have taken their time, who have come up here to see this process. I think they need to understand that procedurally there are things that we have to do, and if we're trying.
Representative
or
Stapleton, I think
is
that
to move
I've
the
asked
ball
you to
forward.
I've asked you to wait
So it
until
is
we finish
unfair
this.
for folks not to understand this process, Mr. Chair, that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
You're out of order. I would ask for a motion.
There
Yes,
are
go
7 yeas, 0 nays, and 2 passes. 415 is reported out as H3.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would ask for a motion to adopt the H2 sub to Senate Bill 981. Representative O'Brien moves. Madam Clerk, take the roll.
Chairman Kurtz,
Yes.
Representatives O'Brien,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Heisey,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Rendon,
Yes.
Slavin, Lane,
Yes.
Stapleton.
Pass.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 yeas, 0 nays, and 2 passes. The H2 sub to 981 is adopted.
I'd ask for a motion to report Senate Bill 981. Representative Heisey so moves. Madam Clerk, will you take the roll?
Chairman Kurtz,
Yes.
Representatives O'Brien,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Heisey,
Yes.
Hooker,
Yes.
Rendon,
Yes.
Slavin, Lane,
Yes.
Stapleton.
Pass.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 yeas, 0 nays, and 2 passes. Senate Bill 981 is reported out as substitute H2.
I want to thank you for your time and committee. I do want to make just an observation and say a few words to the committee the rest, as I've reviewed this process with this series of bills, I became convinced that over the course of time that these bills and this issue has been brought forth towards this body as a whole, has been given ample and justified amount of time. I believe it's been done with a great amount of compassion and investigation and in fairness. And so, as I have requested unapologetically, we have called for this vote and it has been taken, and I want to thank the committee members and for your diligence and for all who have come to be a part of this. And I would agree that we do move on forward. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Institutions are born and may live 1,000 years. They begin with one member, one idea, one book. So let us continue to move forward. We will continue on with this committee meeting, and I do need to mention that Senate Bill 1005